everyone, and welcome to another FSU Esports Player Spotlight. I'm Austin, and today Sheridan and I will be interviewing Cooper from the Garnet Hearthstone team. So hi, Cooper. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing quite well. My name's Cooper. I'm 19 years old. I go by the alias Dragoninja. I'm currently in information communication and technology. Don't know, might change, but so far it's not so bad. I've been playing Hearthstone for 4.5 years, 5 years since the beginning of Goblins versus Gnomes. So I've been playing for a while. I've only been taking it seriously for about 2.5 years. Really kicked up last year or the year before that.
Yeah. So what's the story behind the Dragoninja gamer tag?
I think with a lot of gamer tags, they spawn from when you click randomly generate on your first console. I got Dragon Slayer as my first one, and later when I was 13, I was like, oh, I better upgrade to Dragon Ninja. I mean, I've started competitive play with it, so I'm like, it's not that bad. So I kept it. I like it.
That's awesome. So how has your time with FSU Esports been so far since you're super new to the club?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be as organized as it was. I'm excited to be surrounded by other people who also want to play competitive esports at some of the highest levels, or at least collegiate level. Um, it's been very inclusive. I've had no negative experiences with it. The people there they're helpful, they're nice, they're kind. Um, Everyone wants one thing, and it's to win. And when everyone's working together, in that case, a lot of good stuff comes out of it.
And how would you say the season is going so far, especially with such a stacked roster?
Uh, just going into it, I started out with the tryouts. I wasn't exactly super excited with the players I had met there. I was worried that the players that I was going to be competing with were going to be not fully invested in the team. And after the first game, I was proven very wrong. My teammates, they both Pedro and Gumby, they work very hard. They're dedicated. Um, it, each one of us brings like a different kind of play style to the table. And I think that's what's so powerful about our team. But how we're doing so far, when we went 1-0, I felt things were going a lot better. By the time we were 4-0 before our last game, we had a groove. We were clicking together. We were getting practices done. We knew what we could do. We knew what we couldn't do, and we knew what we needed to work on.
So you touched on it a little bit, but what is like that team dynamic like? Is there a player that has like the final say in a play, or does like the whole team have like input, or is it like, okay, I play this paladin deck, I pilot this paladin deck, I know it the best, or yeah, so if you could talk on that a little.
Um, it's not exactly like the traditional way where players would be like, oh, I specialize in, say, Paladin, or I specialize in Shaman, therefore I play the Shaman and Paladin matchups. It's a much more, there's sometimes, especially in high level Hearthstone, there's never a correct play, there's just wrong plays. So when it comes to finding the correct play, there are multiple routes to it. So the route that Gumby would take is far different the rate from the route that I would take or Pedro would take. And because we can sit there and we can deliberate through, and we're experienced enough to go, hey, I would do this because of this and this 3 turns later. Oh, I would do this because of this now. Oh, I would do this because we're trying to close out the game in fatigue. Stuff like that is because we're able to deliberate all the options that we see. So I like to call it the Hearthstone hive mind, because it's one person to be like, oh, I have the right answer. When in reality, it's more of like a mesh of the 3 answers gets you the closest to the right way to play that matchup.
What would you say has fed into that success? Like how are you so successful so far?
Well, there's a few components to it. The first component is obviously just grinding, like ladder grinding. You hit the ladder as much as you can, and you win. You see what works, you see what doesn't work, what cards fit in the deck, what cards don't fit in decks. And then a lot of it is spending time on Twitter, because people will post what their decks are. And a lot of these other teams aren't actually creating these decks themselves. They're copying the decks off of places like Twitter and HS Replay and such like that. So you can predict what they're going to bring based on what pro players and other players and stat sites say is good. So by them saying something is good, they have inherently made it worse because now they've made it predictable. Like I think week 4 or game 4, series 4, we brought Big Warrior. Big Warrior is not considered good. It's considered a bad deck. But because we could practically guarantee what our opponents were going to bring, bringing Big Warrior actually worked. So and also Big Warrior had the effect of, we brought Bomb Warrior 3 weeks in a row or 3 games in a row, and then we bring Big Warrior. It's such like a hard 180 turn to your deck play style that just because of one anomaly, your opponents will be afraid to target because they know there's a chance that they do something weird. As long as there's a chance that we do something weird, I mean, Hearthstone players love to say, oh, 60% is a good percentage rate. But in reality, a lot of people are more emotionally inclined to be scared of a 99%. They're scared of a 1% rather than, so they'd rather make things 100% rather than scared about the 99%. So as long as you bring one anomaly or you break your own play style, people will deem you as a bigger threat than you really are. And so they'll play safer. When they play safer, they're more predictable. And then you can keep doing the weird things you've been doing to win up to that point.
That was like the most in-depth analysis of like your own play style that I've ever heard ever. And I just like appreciate that so much. Do you like, because this was actually like, I saw a bunch of pro players tweeting about this on like just sort of like the RNG stuff, like it was in the Garnet chat about like Bunny Hopper had a whole tweet longer about it. So like, where do you like sort of fall? I know like that match specifically, you did not like randomly generated stuff, but like, where do you kind of fall like in general?
I fall in this weird hybrid. I'm not one of those burn all randomly generated cards kind of character guys. Randomly generated cards deserve to be in the game. I mean, it makes the game more interesting, it pulls more casual players, and it makes competitive play more interesting. But I'm thinking more of a randomly generated, like, make it boxes. Like, legendary spells can't be randomly generated, so you don't have, like, these massive power swings. Like, the power between something being randomly generated, like, the worst option shouldn't be more than a 10% win rate away from the best option at any point. Like, if you pull triple Pyroblast out of a Solarian and hit face, that shouldn't be possible, nor with pulling Vaporize 5 times and having a useless Vaporize up. That shouldn't be on the same thing. Like, people are not upset that there's RNG. People are upset that the wild indiscrepancies between the two far spectrums. I mean, everyone loves high rolling, but getting high rolled, it feels like you've been mugged. And like low rolling, it's just awful. And a lot of these decks right now in the meta are built around high roll mechanics, especially the mage, completely built around high roll mechanics. But I think Priest, if they adjusted Priest's generation style, I think it could still be viable if they made it where certain cards couldn't be generated, like legendary spells, or legendary minions couldn't be generated unless the card said it specifically could. I think that'd be okay because you could cut down on like some power cards that could be drawn. But I think Priest is in a good spot with random generation. Mage is not in a good spot with random generation. It does deserve a spot in competitive Hearthstone because it's Hearthstone. Yogg either hates you or loves you. But I think people are, I want to say overreacting, but there's some strong emotions there in that sector that we need to be scared to not throw the pendulum the other way and make it where it's just rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I agree because like a lot of like even like high level plays, just like sometimes people are like losing games that really matter to their career in like grandmasters or something because somebody pulled a puzzle box off of Solarian Prime. So that's just kind of why I wanted to ask that question. What are some of your favorite decks? Why do you like them?
Oh, favorite deck of all time is Cube Warlock.
Oh yes,
it's absolutely a masterpiece. You can play it aggressively and just slam minions on the board. You can play it defensively and play hard for your removals and controlling the sort of resource board game, and you can play it like an OTK deck. You can drop like 25, 30 damage out of those cubes with those Doom Guards. That was actually, fun fact, that was the first deck that got me into Legend. I played that one to Legend in the first drive.
Mine was a mid-range hunter with Deathstalker Rexar, but yeah.
Oh, I've always been not a fan of Deathstalker Rexar. I love control decks, and there's nothing like a Zombies per turn to really piss you off.
Yeah.
I did really like Raza Priest when that was a thing. I played a lot of Raza Priest. I think I really like decks that like control style decks with a lot of late game just push and slam. Mainly because I think it's the best archetype in the game if it's able to be created in the meta. Like right now, it's not able to be created because most control decks or most late game decks either are straight up OTK or they don't have enough mid game press to make it consistently to late game to get their big hits off. I'd say Big Warrior's the closest version to that, but it's still so weak to Demon Hunter and other decks like that.
We know that you've participated in Masters qualifiers and Masters tours for Hearthstone in the past. Do you think you could tell us a little bit more about that and what those experiences were like?
Oh, the Masters qualifiers. It's beating your head against a brick wall. It's every weekend, every single time, no matter what decks you bring, you will get high rolled. You got to beat 10 players to get first. So you have to win 10 series back to back to back and not get high rolled in any of them, or not run up to a guy who's running triple aggro against a mid-range lineup, or like there's so many variables in it, and the system doesn't reward consistency. Like I think in 1 month I hit top 16 like 11 times over the course of like 4 different weekends. I was pretty near quitting Hearthstone at that point, but but other than the awful qualifiers, the Masters tours are fantastic. They're so much fun. I went to Bucharest in 2019, and well, actually, the qualifier that I had won to got into that was my first qualifier ever. And speaking of high rolling, I played Puzzle Box Highlander Mage back when it was Specialist, and I would pop a Puzzle Box on turn 6 every single game, and it brought me to Bucharest. I went to Bucharest, and they play a different game of Hearthstone than we play. We play as if everything is ladder. They play with 2 or 3 extra levels of depth to the game that I did not know existed until I reached a Masters tour. I went 2 and 3 at that Masters tour, so I wasn't fully prepared for what was going to happen. But I met a lot of great people, met some people who weren't so great, but I think the community is really nice, especially the higher level competitive community. Like once everyone's decks were submitted, of course, there was a lot of people looking to discuss decks and such. So it's good to have contacts. It's good to talk to these people who have strategies that have yet to be brought to tournaments or yet to be shown to the public, because the people who make decks, the people net deck, are at Masters tours. Those are the people throwing punches against grandmasters and occasionally landing hits. But Masters tours are fantastic. I recently played in Masters Tour Montreal, which wasn't as fantastic as it was online, and I got 0-3'd, which really sucked. But I don't think I would have done much different in my lineup. But no, Masters tours are a blast. I'm definitely going to try to make it to more, but I don't know how much more qualifiers I can put myself through until they revamp that system, because if it doesn't get revamped soon, that's going to be bad for the competitive scene.
Yeah, it's so tough to be competitive now. It's rough. But so how has that sort of like the exposure to like that level of play helped you through like collegiate Hearthstone?
Oh, it's made it incredibly easy. I wouldn't say we're it's all easy right now, but it's made it much more easy. Like these people out there bringing Face Hunter, like, yeah,
Hmm.
it works on the ladder. What you doing, dude? Don't put in a tournament lineup.
Hmm.
Like I've seen people make a tournament lineup like a Face Hunter, Quest Druid, Bomb Warrior, uh, Aggro Rogue. It's like there's no synergy whatsoever between those decks. You just picked your four favorite decks currently, and I think that's part of the reason why we won our first three matches. Is they were just decks that, oh, I like these decks, and not decks that work together. Because like in the case of Bomb Warrior is not the best deck in the meta. It's not even my favorite deck in the meta, but it fit our lineup the best. So lineups are more important, and targeting is less important than people think. Soft targeting is much stronger than a lot of people think. Because if you have 100% win rate against Demon Hunter, be like, okay, cool. What if they don't bring Demon Hunter? You got a 46% win rate or 36% win rate against Warrior and Priest. It's like, that's not a good lineup. Just run a matrix, look at the percentage values. Like, what is the estimated percentage of Priest in there? What's the estimated percentage of Warrior? Like, if you actually, like, soft targeting is so much stronger because, like, if you have a 60% against Demon Hunter, or two of their other decks, or three of their other decks even, that deck's going to get banned. And you can use decks like that normally would be bad, but you know they're going to bring one, two, three of those decks, and you can ban bait. You can build a lineup around a deck that you know they're going to ban bait. So you could force a ban, so you could have a triple lineup of something stupid that they hadn't prepared for.
Big Warrior.
Exactly.
Well, that is actually all the questions we have. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us. And, it's great to have you at FSU. You're killing it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
having me.
Are you a freshman?
Yeah.
Wow.
First semester.
Okay. 4 years of FSU Hearthstone. I can't wait until one of you bring home the
Oh,
the
yeah.
national championship. Because it feels like it's gonna be through Hearthstone.
Gonna happen.
We're bringing
Fantastic.
home a few.
Feel love to hear it.